Was making Erika Kirk the CEO of Turning Point a good idea in the middle of controversy? Candace Owens seems to think it was not a good idea. I believe and have believed for a very long time that it was a very strategic PR move. I have over 15 years of experience in branding, marketing, and PR, and I'm going to tell you why. But let's start with the video from Candace Owens.
I think the mistake they made, and I've said on my podcast, she should never become the CEO and chairman overnight. Because now, when people have questions, you got to answer them, right? You're not just a grieving widow, which there has to be respectability for and space and allowing her to be a mother. But you very quickly decided that you were equipped to be Charlie. Well, guess what? That's going to be a trial by fire. Okay, Charlie had to go through it. It's painful. The public's going to go through every layer of your life. They're going to be like. And so people go, it's not fair. You can't do what we call this is the post-school shooting thing, which is like a school shooting is such a tragic event. And then suddenly they're like, you have to listen to David Hogg and you can't question David Hogg. It's like, but I got effing questions for David Hogg, right? If you're now going to say that I have to accept him as a political leader, I'm sorry if a tragedy happened.
So what she's essentially saying, which I do agree in many ways, that people are going to have questions. People are going to criticize the organization. Is putting the grieving widow in the role of CEO a great idea? But I believe it was actually very strategic, and here's why. What we saw after the death of Charlie Kirk and Erika Kirk taking that position as CEO is you couldn't criticize the organization. You couldn't criticize her because you were criticizing a grieving widow. And it insulates Turning Point and the organization from critique. Well, what you're going to hear is everyone grieves differently. Leave her alone. And now you're not challenging an organization because traditionally people are willing to challenge an organization. We do it all the time, right? We're not afraid to call out shady organizations or organizations that might be involved in something nefarious. But we are a lot more hesitant to call out a grieving widow. So I believe that they intentionally were putting that halo effect, protecting Turning Point by putting Erika Kirk in the role of CEO and parading her around at every event, putting her on the podcast. That also, in my opinion, kind of gives that stamp of approval. She's talked a lot about how this is what Charlie wanted. He, even in her recent book tour for his book that is coming out, he wanted me in this role. And she talks about even, my biggest fear is not doing what God wants me to do, but Charlie wanted me in this role. And that, again, it's hitting the critics and creating a narrative control situation where if you question her, you're going against Charlie's wishes. You're going against a grieving widow. So I genuinely believe that putting her in so publicly and immediately was to protect the organization. I mean, we saw basically a WWE event for his memorial where they were selling t-shirts, the very t-shirts he was wearing when he was killed. Right? They've raised millions upon millions of dollars off of his name. And her as well, the forefront creates almost a seamless transition. It's his wife. It's still a Kirk in the main role. It's still a Kirk running the company. You likely will see a lot more donations as well. The grieving widow with children, even though she's a multimillionaire, the grieving widow with children left behind. So I definitely believe that it was an insulation practice for Turning Point USA, as well as a way to generate more funds and pull on the heartstrings of people, get people to stick with Turning Point, even though the face of Turning Point was no longer with them. Another reason I believe this is because in literally the moments after Charlie Kirk's death, we had Andrew Kolvet, the one that posted on X about him being the man of steel and stopping a 30-odd 6. Yeah, him. We had him positioned as the close friend, the best friend of Charlie Kirk. Now, I cannot find anything where Charlie Kirk had referred to Andrew Kolvet as his best friend. Yet, if you look at all of the Charlie Kirk, Andrew Kolvet posts and headlines and articles and YouTube videos in the days after his death, it was all Charlie Kirk's best friend. They were besties, guys. And show producer, that was second. Transcripts of who Charlie Kirk really was. His best friend, Andrew Kolvet. Ask God to Lead You, Charlie Kirk's close friend. We see it over and over again on podcasts, on legacy media, on YouTube. Charlie loved you as audience. Andrew Kolvet. It's his friend. Now, again, similar to Erika Kirk taking her position as CEO, well, who are you to question Charlie's best friend? You mean to tell me, and this is the PR move around it, you mean to tell me you know more about Charlie than his best friend and his grieving widow? It insulates the brand. It creates instant authority for both those figures, but especially the mouthpiece. We had Erika, of course, doing the memorial. She did a couple interviews. She showed up on the podcast once, but essentially Andrew Kolvet took over Charlie Kirk's YouTube channel. Like, he is showing up as Charlie Kirk on the YouTube channel. So we needed Andrew Kolvet to be immediately friendly to the broader community and someone that they can trust. Now, here's the problem. Had all of these headlines been Turning Point's Andrew Kolvet, crisis comm strategist, talks about who Charlie Kirk really was, would you trust him as much? Would you trust what was in that article? If in every single article after Charlie's death, Andrew was introduced as not the best friend, but the crisis comms guy, which is exactly who he is, high-level PR and crisis communications, and that's even softened here, right? With the producer of the Charlie Kirk show. Who Andrew Kolvet is, fundamentally, is the mouthpiece. He's the crisis communications guy. So even the verbiage of executive producer softens him. It makes you trust him more, which Turning Point needed from a PR and branding perspective. Because even though Erika Kirk joked and laughed that, well, we're not going to be pretending to be Charlie, you're not going to get like videos from Charlie, that's literally what you're getting. Turning Point did not start their own YouTube channel. They didn't start a Turning Point USA channel. They didn't start an Andrew Kolvet channel. They continued the Charlie Kirk channel, Real Charlie Kirk YouTube. With just, I mean, look at it, his face is on everything. That's Andrew Kolvet, Andrew Kolvet, Andrew Kolvet, Andrew Kolvet, whoever this guy is. Andrew Kolvet everywhere. On every image. So they needed you to trust him. Because let me know in the comments, do you trust as much the crisis communications guy taking over? Probably not. You probably wouldn't give as much weight to his arguments and what he had to say. And it also riles up organically. I don't know if they used organic means to also support this. However, it riles up organically the people that truly love Charlie. Because they're like, who are you, for anyone questioning Erika, anyone questioning Andrew, who are you to come after a grieving widow? Who are you to come after his best friend? And so everything they do, even if it's a pile of shit, is rolled in gold and presented to you as the people closest to him. It's all PR. Andrew knows what he's doing. He is great at what he does. He's a PR guy. And the interesting thing that I also found is they've gone back to that. I found a recent article just here, 5 hours ago. TPUSA spokesman shares unseen photo Charlie Kirk from New York City book tour. Okay, so we have Andrew Kolvet back as the spokesman. I thought he was the bestie. I thought he was just, regular guy that was doing the executive producing and best friend of Charlie Kirk. Here we have again, TPUSA spokesperson Andrew Kolvet told Newsweek that comments made by, and they continue, everywhere you look within the last day, all of a sudden he's a spokesperson again. TPUSA spokesperson Andrew Kolvet. Everywhere. But look we can see it right here. You go back to September, Andrew Kolvet, executive producer of the Charlie Kirk Show and friend of the Kirk family. So he was always the spokesperson all along, right? You were just manipulating the public. You were just manipulating narratives. You, Turning Point USA, closed rank and put the people in place that could pull at the heartstrings the most to keep things going. Because people that aren't really paying attention, well, now you're getting updates from Charlie Kirk. So it's going to say Charlie Kirk posted a new video, but you got Andrew Kolvet here. Friends. Andrew Kolvet. Which is, crisis comms guy. Now, I also believe, and this is strictly my opinion, of course, that as the TPUSA spokesperson and crisis communications strategist, he's the one that has been preparing Erika Kirk every step of the way. Interestingly enough, her story has changed during the book tour. They're making her story even better during the book tour. Let's have a look. So first, we're going to start with Erika and Megyn Kelly talking about the book that Charlie had written and now they are putting out, which I have concerns whether it is actually a reflection of what Charlie had written or have there been edits done.
Charlie's book. I took the dust cover off because I carry his book everywhere. Stop in the Name of God. It's coming out soon.
Charlie's coming out with a book.
Yeah.
He's coming out with a book. Stop in the Name of God, which is a great title. Stop in the Name of God. And what is it about?
It took him 1.5 years to write it. In this book, I mean, when I'm reading it, I'm like, I did not even know you knew that. It is so powerful. Overarching theme of it is the power of honoring the Sabbath and the importance of rest. And reading this, and I even brought one of his journals with me to read out of it, because the thing that's so interesting about reading this book and reading this journal, and I know a lot of you that are Christians will understand this.
So she's read the book, she's read the journal, and I think everyone will have a little bit of different opinions on whether the book should be released or not. Again, my opinion is I'm not entirely sure. I trust Turning Point USA that this is actually the book that, the finalized book that he wrote. I'm not convinced that the marketing will be done in a way that he wanted it to be done. We'll see. I've had clients that are authors and write books, and then it no longer aligns with their views, and they never sees the light of day. Never know.
They tell you that when you read the Bible, it's the living word of God, and it is. And you see the Lord in technicolor when you read the Bible and you actually understand those words. And so for me, reading Charlie's journals and reading this book, it's like he's present with the Lord, but it feels like he's still fully here. And that's what's so powerful about this book. And I watched him as a wife completely transform into...
I will say, in terms of branding and PR, they've made a much better choice putting her in black. They trotted her out in white with what I saw people call her Super Bowl rings, which I see she's wearing here as well. But they trotted her out in white. I think it was just such a bad decision. They've shifted course and now she's in black.
He was already amazing and incredible, but it totally elevated him when he was honoring the Sabbath and when he really took that seriously, that time to rest seriously. And I just can't help but think, like, everything, and to go to your point of signs, I don't think anything is by coincidence, but to have this be his last book, and to him totally master what it means to rest with the Lord, it's all full circle now. Because it's
interesting timing, indeed. Interesting timing, indeed. For those that maybe think the FBI's lying, that maybe potentially other actors are involved in this. Interesting timing, indeed. I don't know if I would have highlighted that, to be quite honest. I think that's a little bit of a slip up. Not saying it's because she's involved, although I think she's very questionable in terms of how she's handled everything. But you're not allowed to say that, remember. Not allowed to say that. I don't know if I would have said that, because it is just interesting timing then. Especially with the text messages that came out that he was questioning his support of Israel and wanted to drop Israel donors.
The ultimate Sabbath where he is right now.
When did you get to read it?
When?
Yeah.
As much as I can, driving into the office or...
No, but I mean, was it written in its entirety before Charlie died?
Yes.
It was. Okay.
Yes, it was. He finished writing this.
The interesting thing is she changes her story. And that's, again, where we have to keep in mind that Andrew Kolvet is not the best friend. and just the executive producer. He is a crisis comms guy. This doesn't really pull as much on the heartstrings as maybe this. Let's just see. And funny enough, oh, look who shared it. Look who shared it. Andrew Kolvet. Maybe admiring his own work. So Andrew Kolvet, says this is December 8th, and the Megyn Kelly one was 2 weeks ago. So Andrew shared this just 2 days ago. Mrs. Erika Kirk says she hasn't finished reading Charlie's last book, Stop in the Name of God, because once she does his words to her and the world will be over. Amazing that he gave the world this final gift, but awful that there has to be a final word so soon. I watched him write this book for over a year. He meditated, prayed, and researched a topic with profound curiosity. A true labor of love from Charlie Kirk, and I think his most life-changing work. I really believe that. So Andrew Kolvet maybe just giving himself a pat on the back that, this pulls on the heartstrings a lot more, better PR, but here, let's listen.
These are his words, and when you read them, you feel him come to life. It's powerful.
It is very powerful, and it really caused me, as I read it, again, I read the whole thing, and
I'll be honest, I can't read the last few pages. I'm not there yet. It's just emotionally, because once this book is done, it's done.
Of course, I mean, everybody thinks...
She said she read it even before he died. And now she hasn't finished the book because it's just too hard. And again, just so interesting that Andrew's the one that freaking shares that. Of course he is. I don't know, guys. So again, just to wrap up this video, I completely hear and agree with Candace. Like, why would you put the grieving window in as a CEO and so publicly in the middle of a lot of questions? She's right. The CEO is going to have to answer questions. And in my opinion, it was a very strategic move to insulate Turning Point USA, the same strategic move that it was to put Andrew Kolvet and rebrand him as the best friend and executive producer rather than the mouthpiece of Turning Point USA and the crisis comms guy, controlling the narrative and strategizing every single word, every single step that the company said and did post Charlie's death. Because people aren't going to believe a PR guy the same way they're going to believe the best friend. So in my opinion, whether they are involved or not, that's not what I'm getting into. That's not the point of the video. What I am saying is every move has been strategic from a branding and PR perspective. They put her and the best friend in charge to hopefully bring along the loyal Charlie followers into this new era. And it was also to paint a certain narrative so that the public was more willing to believe that narrative that was being delivered by Charlie's best friend, allegedly, and wife, and then to insulate the company and the narrative they were putting out from anyone that wanted to challenge it. Because then the argument became, how dare you go after a grieving wife? Oh, so you know him better than his best friend. So I think it was all very strategic. And in my opinion, that's why she was put in as the CEO. All for PR, all for money. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, subscribe, hang out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.